Information is power, and we're bringing it to you with the BGA's nonpartisan podcast, Ready, Set, Gov, tackling the most important challenges in Illinois. Find it on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is episode 49 of Alternative Facts Chicago. This is B.Hun back with B.Chan. What's up, B? How are you?
What up? I'm good. What's up with you?
It's been a crazy couple of weeks. I'm feeling a little sick, like my throat is itchy, so I think it's all starting to get to me.
It's catching up with you. That's what happens when you get old. You had that birthday. Now you're just like done.
I don't know
Downhill
what you're talking
from
about.
here.
Someone being old. I'm a young spring chicken. I don't know what you're talking about.
I think we're
you may feel old doesn't mean that I do.
I think we're currently the same age, so I don't want to hear any jokes from you.
That means you may be old, but that doesn't mean that I'm old. But anyway, I feel all right, though. I'm still hanging in there, still pushing. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. I know we're going to talk about it here in a little bit. But, back, and the biggest thing I want to say is we're actually close to 50 episodes. Next week is our 50 episode special.
I'm so excited for that. When we were talking about it and we were mapping out our dates and we realized our 50th episode was coinciding with the guests that we're going to have recording together. It's going to be awesome. So I'm really excited to be a part of that. I think that we have a good show in store for that one. And of course, all kinds of events coming up and things that we have going on, all surrounding that. So it's a lot to celebrate.
Absolutely. So we will have a guest for the 50th episode. We will have that next week. But before we get started on the episode, we should definitely plug our social media. So my personal Twitter is B.Hun1984. What's your Twitter, B?
My Twitter and my Instagram are Starbright312.
Same for my Instagram as well, B.Hun1984. And then you can find us on all social media. Our Twitter is AFAC Chicago. Instagram, Facebook is Alternative Facts Chicago. You can always email us questions, sponsorship ideas, show B&B or business questions to alternativefactschicago@gmail.com. Also find us on iTunes. Please subscribe and leave a review if you have not yet. And our show is hosted on SoundCloud. You can find us on Google Play, Podbean, as well as YouTube. So we're definitely all over the place.
Yeah, and I wanted to say, I know that in a lot of ways, a lot of us think that Facebook is silly and kind of dead, but we've had a lot of new followers and likes on our Facebook page, and we're able to share a lot of news stories and things going on. It's more conducive to Facebook than necessarily other social media. So if you're listening to us, you like what we're talking about, you kind of want more stuff that we don't always fit into the show, follow us on Facebook and kind of get in touch with things like that, because it's a lot of fun on there too.
Absolutely. Good point. And our likes and followers on Facebook have grown a lot. We've jumped up almost 100 likes in, I would say, maybe about 2 or 3 months. So the growth is quickly growing on Facebook. Like I said, we're very engaging, put a lot of articles on there. So great point, B. And make sure you check us out. Follow us on Facebook at Alternative Facts Chicago. So before we get into news of the week, where are we going to be at this weekend, B.Chan?
This weekend, and I think it's supposed to be nice weather. I meant to check the weather. That's what I'm really concerned about.
It's going to be hot.
It's going to be hot. Hot. We'll be in tank tops, of course. We will be at the Puerto Rican Fest this Saturday downtown. We will be with our guy, Mike G. He has invited us to come out, celebrate the culture, see what they're doing, and kind of just celebrate everything that Puerto Rican Fest has to offer. So we are thankful to have him as our ambassador to show us the way. It is a festival that neither you or I have ever been to. So we're excited to do that. Excited to meet everybody out there and spend some time at Puerto Rican Fest. I'm going to eat. That's all I know.
You do that at every street festival. That's like the main thing that you want to do is eat, apparently.
That's true. Now you're catching on.
Yeah, I don't venture out to Humboldt Park too much, so it's definitely good to get over there. I always like to see more of the culture, Chicago, parts of the city that I have not seen, so I'm pretty excited. It's supposed to be like 90-something degrees on Saturday, so it's going to be a hot day in the city.
Then I might not be eating that much, because when it's hot, you don't feel like eating a lot, but I'll
definitely be drinking, though.
I will probably be drinking.
Speaking of drinking, I need to give my recap of Spring Awakening this past weekend.
That was a good segue. Speaking of drinking, why don't you tell us what happened?
Spring Awakening is always one of my favorite festivals, music festivals, not only in Chicago, but nationally. It was an amazing time. I ended up going on Saturday and Sunday. First of all, make sure you check out, it was actually just posted today, Wednesday morning, my interview with Chicago staple legendary group Porn and Chicken. They did an amazing job. It was literally right after their set on main stage at Spring Awakening on Saturday. So they were literally just off stage. They were still sweating, energy amped up, drinking as well. So they were in a good mood. We just talked about, their career a little bit with the time that we had. It was a shorter interview because they were pressed for time with other press going on as well. But obviously we talked about, their past, them being on main stage, Spring Awakening, how the festival has grown over the years, just their influence in Chicago, what are the DJs in Chicago they support, how React Events has helped them throughout their career, and then it's an overall message for Chicago. So quick interview, great guys and female as well too. It's the four of them. So they did a great job as well on the set. I got to check them out. They tore the stage down. The crowd really rocked with them. So make sure you check it out. It is posted on our iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, as well as SoundCloud. If you can check out the full interview with Porn and Chicken. And once again, we thank you for giving us the opportunity, and we definitely look to do more work with them very soon. But in regards to the whole festival, I won't go into all of it for the interest of time. But I will say overall, the best set of Spring Awakening weekend was Cascade on Sunday night. Obviously, he's from Chicago. He tore it down. I mean, I would say it's probably, and not being prisoner of the moment, one of the better sets I've ever seen in regards to the EDM genre. Just fit perfectly. Great way to close the weekend. Zed was also good as well too. On Saturday, I would say Hardwell was very good. Just the overall vibes of the show. And like I said, I know you've never been to one of those type of festivals before, but just the overall energy, vibes, just being around everyone's just in good spirits, good mood. So I had a great time. And one of these years, we'll get you out there with me as well.
Yes. Maybe next year.
You
Maybe
sound
next
so confident about that.
No, I am. I told you make it sound like I'm just like totally like not a good time, and that's not true. It's just not totally my scene, but I'm not opposed to it. So maybe next year.
Hey, there's always more festivals to go to, so I'll get you to one of them sometime soon.
Sometime soon, okay. Maybe.
But yeah, shouts out to React Presents. They did a great job. Thanks for the invite and allowing us to go and cover the festival. I'll definitely be on the beach here very soon. More festivals here this summer. But they did a great production. It was just an overall great time. Chicago is the best city in the world, and we appreciate letting Alternative Facts Chicago be there as well. So quickly, before we get to the news of the week, tell us who our fan of the week is.
We have a fan of the week this week, and this fan of the week is not on Twitter. So I cannot tell you where to find her, but she is one of our followers on Facebook. She loves the show. Her name is Amy. Shout out to Amy. She engages a lot with us on Facebook, has lots of comments, likes to stick it to B.Hun sometimes when she thinks he loses a bet or he can't quite handle the wings. But she's a lot of fun. She loves the show. She loves giving us feedback. And one of the things I like most is she is a mom, and she has commented before on how she likes that she knows she can listen to the podcast even if her kids are around, where other podcasts might not be as friendly for kid ears. So it gives her the opportunity to listen to adult content, music she might want to hear about, or news she might want to hear about, but it's still friendly enough that she doesn't have to turn it off when the kids are around. So we're glad to be able to provide that type of show for you. And we are happy you are listening, and we are happy to have you following us. And we love you. So thank you, Amy.
And I love the fact that our show is for all genres, all ages are included, can listen to us, because there are a lot of podcasts where it's definitely more adult friendly. So I love that aspect about our show.
Yeah, me too. And when she said that, I hadn't really thought about that before. And so from that perspective, I was glad. I was glad that it was friendly for that demographic of people who you never know who's listening, with them. So, yep. So thank you for listening. We love you.
Shouts out, Amy.
All right.
What else we got?
Speaking of her ripping on you and me getting to brag, and I had to change my social media name this week to Chan Champ, just like my boy Swaggy P had to change his name to Swag Champ. If you remember back, oh goodness, I wanted to find out what episode it was, and I don't even know when it was. The very beginning of the NBA playoffs. I was just a new spring chicken on the show, and we made our predictions for the NBA Finals. And way back then, Steph Curry had been hurt. There was some question marks about the Golden State Warriors. And we made our predictions. You chose Cleveland. I chose Golden State. And in that moment, you said to me, even with the injuries? Even with the injuries.
Even with the injuries.
Even with the injuries. And it was pretty cool that it came down to the finals to being our two teams. That was pretty awesome. And so I just wanted to go ahead. It's the first episode since this happened to remind you that I did win that bet.
You did, and I guess in my self-defense, I picked Cleveland from preseason. So even though deep down I had a feeling they were probably going to lose, of course, I still had to rock with Cleveland, and they almost pulled it off. I think if they would have won that game one, they had a much better shot, but that ended their chances. Golden State is honestly probably the greatest basketball team of all time. Like, they would probably beat any team, including the Jordan team. So it's not fair, even to the point to where they may even win the championship next season. So shouts out to you. You won. I will give you
Thank you.
credit.
Thank
And I'm
you.
going to have to eat crow right now. I will admit
Yeah,
that.
and we'll be settling up how you can make this up to me sometime soon.
What's your poll? You put out a bunch of questions out there.
Yeah, I think the winner was that you should be buying me lots and lots of shots. So that could end up being a disaster. We may have to not go that route. We'll see. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, we'll think about that. So we'll discuss and we'll announce on the show what exactly I do. But for now, congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate you are a gracious loser.
Hey, that didn't sound right.
I'm sorry. Moving on. What do you have for us, Steve?
Let's talk a little bit about your boy, T.O., Terrell Owens. And it's crazy that he's even our top story this week when he hasn't played in quite a bit. But for all that does not know, he actually finally got nominated to be in the Hall of Fame. He actually got picked to be in the Hall of Fame with a list of others. Actually, a great list, including Randy Moss as well, too. But, of course, in simple T.O. fashion, always has to hog the spotlight. The attention always has to be on him. He's claiming that he's not going to attend the Hall of Fame ceremony, and he's going to have a separate ceremony for himself at a time to be named later. What in the world is T.O. doing here? Is he making the right decision, or is this just a bunch of nonsense? What are your thoughts, B?
All right. I love me some me, and I love me some T.O. I love it. Typically, in any other scenario, I don't like this decision. But this is a man who has been unfairly snubbed by the Pro Football Hall of Fame for years because we know that there was a personal issue between the writers who get the votes, who get to vote who's inducted, and it was a problem with him personally. No one could have denied his physical ability and his production and his ability as a wide receiver in the NFL. No one could deny that. So it was widely known that every year he was not inducted was a year he was being done wrong. No one denied that. So with that said, T.O., who I think is obviously a very emotional man, but a lot smarter than people give him credit for. I think he said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this, and I'm not going to give the ratings to the Hall of Fame or the NFL. I'm not going to give the attention because you know darn well if T.O., there was already speculation. Who's he going to have do his speech beforehand? Is it going to be a 49er coach? Is it going to be a Cowboy coach, a former player, a this or that? You know, who knows? It was already all this media speculation around it. So you know darn well that induction ceremony would have been one of the most watched, highest rated, just because of the spectacle that is T.O. And T.O. said, yeah, you know what? No pass. I'm not going to give that much attention to you. So I'm sure he will have endorsements for his ceremony. I'm sure he will have all kinds of things. And honestly, I'm a pretty old-fashioned team player kind of fan, but I'm all about this. And I say, good for you, T.O.
All right, I'm going to take the opposite stance on this. I think it's a crock of crap. I think that T.O. is a guy who has made the attention all about himself for years and years and years. This is an amazing class. Like I said, with Ray Lewis, Randy Moss, Brian Urlacher, and Brian Dawkins and himself. That's an amazing class of 5, amazing NFL players. It would have been a great moment to see all 5 of them standing up together. But of course, what does T.O. have to do? He has to find a way to make it about him. And it's really only been, I think, a couple years that he's been eligible. I think 1 or 2 years he did not get in, and then he finally did. Maybe, of course, he should have been a first-time surefire Hall of Famer. Yes, probably. But even if not, who cares? I mean, I think in some cases you got to realize that these types of things are bigger than you, the moment's bigger than you, and to make it all about himself, I think it's just a case of him being self-centered, a person who's really not happy with his life and where it's gone, and is someone who's essentially just really, really unhappy. And that's the kind of view I get of T.O., and that's kind of how he's been for a very long time. He was actually on that TV show on MTV, The Challenge, Champs vs. Stars recently, and he left the show after about 3 or 4 episodes because he just couldn't take it, he couldn't handle it, and he aborted the show completely. So I think that's where he is. I think he just likes to run from any and every situation that he has. So I'm taking the opposite stance. I'm not for it. I think it's a joke, and I kind of like T.O., but I'm not really surprised at what he's doing here.
I'm not surprised either, and I understand where you're coming from, and a lot of football purists would feel that way. One thing, though, to keep in mind, this is not that he went to the ceremony and then made a spectacle. He is not taking anything away from Randy Moss or Brian Urlacher or anyone else being inducted. In fact, if you're someone who believes in the honor of that, then you're going to watch the induction and you're going to forget about T.O. and not pay any attention to it. So had he done that, had he gone to the induction and then said, made a scene and made it all about him, I could absolutely understand that point of view, but he's not. So those who want to focus of the purity of the actual Hall of Fame presentation, then so be it. Watch it and enjoy it. I'll probably be watching T.O.'s show.
But the thing is where I say he's taking the attention away from them, because now the storyline is him not going, as opposed to all 5 of them being able to celebrate their moment. And that's going to be the storyline during and probably after, is the fact that T.O. wasn't there. So he's getting the main headline when the others who deserve just as much attention as him should have the same type of spotlight. So that's where I think he always tries to make the attention on him. And I think just this time he's going just a little bit too far. And it's why he's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way in his entire career. And that's why he didn't get into the Hall of Fame the first time around.
Right. And you're right. And you're absolutely right. And he's not somebody I would want to be friends with. He is self-centered. He is about him. He does, though, not to make excuses, he has had a very unique, troubling life. So if you have not heard about T.O.'s youth and growing up and family life, take a look into it. It's very sad, as many people's are. But I mean, so he has a history. I'm not making excuses. He is who he is, but I'm all for it.
So, and I know we have a lot of Dallas Cowboy fans that actually listen to our show. So I'm kind of curious to what their thoughts are. So make sure you comment on Twitter or leave us an email or Facebook, just to let you know. I know we had that post up on Facebook, I think, late last week, and actually got a lot of comments of people calling T.O. a clown, which I'm not surprised. So I'm curious to what our fan base on Twitter thinks about the T.O. move.
Yeah, let us know what you think.
All right.
Are you Team B.Chan or are you Team B.Hun?
There we go. We'll make a poll about that, and we'll discuss it next week. So before we get into this next topic, I think, which is a very important one that we should talk about early in this episode, let's pay some bills. So this portion of the episode is sponsored by the Wrigley Report. Cubs fans, if you are looking for the latest Wrigley renovations, updates, team news, player analysis, and overall Cup news, look no further than Wrigley Report, your number one source for all Chicago Cub news. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter on their handle at the Wrigley Report. Now, this next one, I kind of want you to talk about it because you're great at giving the recap on this, but it's been a crazy week and some politics, so we definitely got to discuss this one.
Okay, so we are going to dive in kind of top of the trees because you can get really deep and buried into a lot of this. But we want to talk about Donald Trump meeting with Kim Jong Un from North Korea this week.
That's a hell of a name. The saying that sounds funny.
It is a name, and it's a name. It's like every other name that I'm like, B.Hun, you got to say the name so I don't say it wrong. So that's the part where I'm like, wait, let me look. Is this how I'm saying it right? So they did meet this week for apparently about a 5-hour meeting. This is unprecedented. This is historical in the sense that United States presidents in the past have not met with the dictators of North Korea. We do not have a friendly relationship with them. So this historical event happened, and basically at the end of the 5-hour meeting, all that we really came away with was some sort of declaration of a new friendship between us and North Korea. However, we got no new details about any commitments made by Kim Jong Un to denuclearize North Korea. So what we were trying to do, for those kind of who don't follow, is that for a very, very long time, North Korea has been a hostile country bordering South Korea. We have been friendly and on the side of South Korea. We've had military troops in South Korea for many, many years. We have been there kind of defending the South Korean people against the North Korean. Things have been concerning over the past few years, specifically over a nuclear threat from North Korea. They have many nuclear weapons that there's concern could hit Hawaii or as far as the west coast of the United States. So a lot of fear over what North Korea could do with their nuclear weapons. So in theory, if you were dealing with a normal country, you would want to see what you could do to make sure that you were safe from that. So in this case, it was said that we were meeting with them to talk about denuclearizing them,
Mm-hmm.
so that was no longer a threat. In the end, no new real commitments came out from North Korea. It is very vague, kind of what was done or what was discussed. What we did find out is that Kim Jong Un did make a commitment, but he did not add anything new to an agreement that he had made back in April with South Korea. So he made no new agreements. We are no different today than we were in April when he made this agreement with South Korea. And the likelihood of us finding out if they are completely denuclearizing, we probably won't find out for years if they're actually following through with this agreement. So a lot of that is kind of concerning. Of course, if they do, and if this follows through and they end up being trustworthy, of course it's good news. Less nuclear weapons in the world is always good news. The concern is this is the son of the previous dictator who was considered to be a little crazy. Now the son is considered to be even more of a loose cannon. So you just don't know what he's going to do. You certainly don't know if you can trust him. So that's issue number one. Issue number two kind of comes down to the fact that we've had a agreement and kind of a working relationship with South Korea for many years. And what we did in this agreement, we're the only ones who made any changes. And we agreed to end regular military exercises that we've been doing with South Korea.
Yep.
And that not only pleases North Korea, but it also pleases China. So that's a little concerning to say, well, what's going on here? Well, when we did that, when we went in and we said, fine, we'll no longer do these exercises with South Korea, we didn't tell South Korea about it ahead of time. So ultimately, we kind of threw South Korea, our ally, under the bus, saying we're no longer going to do these exercises, which were a show of good faith to assure South Korea that we were committed to their defense. They didn't know this was happening. Now, do they trust us? Are we going to even stay in South Korea? Because without us in South Korea, the threat of North Korea invading them is very high, very scary. North Korea is not a place that's good for their own citizens to live in. Many people dying of starvation. It's just a bad place to be. So if all of this came as it should, it would be good news. I'm just very skeptical, and I'm very concerned about what we've done to our relationship with South Korea.
So overall, thanks for the recap. I think that was a great deep dive for all those that probably hadn't even, from a high level, from those that hadn't really followed the story. And a lot of people really don't like to follow what Donald Trump does right now because, of course, it's pretty pointless. But I will say overall, and I've seen people on Facebook say, he's done a great job with this, and he's actually trying to find a get somewhere when no other U.S. president would, meet with North Korea and this and that and the other. But at the end, I think we really need to realize and understand, like you mentioned, what really happened. Like, what did we really accomplish outside of the two meeting each other in a photo op? Mm-hmm. Like, what do we really come away with this? Like, and I think the White House is definitely going to spin this as a way of Donald Trump being the peacemaker, try to find a way to maybe get him a Nobel Peace Prize or something like that for, sitting down and meeting with Kim and all that. But what was really done, I think deep down, I think it's a big way or a big ploy for him to make more money. For Donald Trump to increase his business in real estate. I know he did mention a lot of times, and he stressed to Kim that we can help build up some of your areas, build up some of your hotels, and your country can look better than it ever did, which could be something that Donald Trump could have a ploy in. So I think throughout all of this, he always has dollar signs in the back of his mind. I really don't think he cares or has any reason to, mend these things, but it's only if it's going to help push his agenda, which is growing his business and making more money overall. So is that something you agree with? Because I don't really think he really had any other intentions but finding a way to put more money in his pockets.
I absolutely agree with you. And again, in terms of how this pleases China as well. So to me, sometimes you have to connect the dots and look at the service. Okay, this is us, this is North Korea, fine. Who likes this idea? And if you're skeptical of the people who like you doing this, then you kind of have to take a deeper look and say, well, why does this make China happy? Well, are we doing it to make China happy? Again, because we're trying to have deals with them because we're trying to get patents through there, things like that. You kind of have to peel the layers back a little bit and say, I wonder why. So again, I hate to be the negative person or the pessimist to say, oh, this is terrible. No, on the surface, if this works, great. However, we have to be realistic. And so I think we have to look at those other things. And my biggest thing being, we are a country who over the years has gone into places, said, we're going to protect you, and then pull out. And so to do this to South Korea, which is a country that we've vowed to help defend for so long, it is concerning and ultimately just not the right thing to do on top of anything. So that's kind of how I look at it. On top of all of the facts that, I mean, you're really ultimately doing business with the devil here. You can't trust this country. And to add fuel to the fire, you're trying to make a deal with North Korea that is
Right.
basically the same deal you just ripped up with Iran.
Yep.
So you had a deal with Iran to no longer produce nuclear weapons. You ripped that up, and now you're trying to do the same thing with North Korea. So it just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. And I agree with you. I know a lot of our listeners probably try to avoid this, probably don't care. They're tired of hearing about it. And I understand it. We're in political fatigue. But the reason we try to bring it up on the show sometimes when we feel like it's a really important issue is to give a top of the trees look at it, not get too deep, not make you listen
Right.
to too much, but kind of give you an idea of the things that maybe the media, specifically the Trump administration, is trying to sweep under the rug a little
Yep.
so that we're not paying attention. So
Absolutely. So we'll keep on the story. We'll move on for the interest of time, but definitely something to keep hold of. But I really think this could be more smoke and mirrors than anything else. I'm not sure if a true agreement was made, although other than a photo op in a way for both sides potentially to make more money down the road, not necessarily to truly create peace. I don't really think that was the agenda of any of that.
I agree.
What else we got? Are we gonna get to some music talk or what?
We better.
We better. Okay. Oh yeah, this one is a good one, and most people probably didn't really know about this. So I was actually surfing, Twitter. Always come across, random articles. So on Rolling Stone or RollingStone.com, I thought this was a great topic that we should talk about because not many people really are. And we've talked about this many times how, hip hop, rap music is probably the number one genre in music right now. It's all over, the internet, streaming, Apple Music, iTunes, Spotify, like all the lists, 50, if there's a 50 song list, 46 may be hip hop. But if you think about it, I know we have some fans who may or may not listen to, top 40 radio. For Chicago, that would be like B96, or in Chicago, there's 103.5. But what we want to know, and let's talk about this, because they had a great article, and it said that top 40 radio has a rap problem. And they gave instances of, artists like Kendrick Lamar, Cardi B, Migos. They may have the most popular records in the country, number one, number two, and number three on all these Billboard charts, week to week. But why are they not thriving on the pop stations the way the white rappers do? And I guess I really didn't think about that. So they had a stat, which is very, very unique. And they said in the last 6 years, there have been white rappers that have repeatedly scored pop number one records on the radio, such as Macklemore twice, Eminem, Iggy Azalea, my guy MGK, G-Eazy twice, and then newer rapper NF. Also, in regards to that, the only predominantly black artists that have had a number one record on pop radio outside of the Kendricks, Cardi B, Migos has been Drake. And even that song was more of a dancey, more pop record with one dance. It really wasn't a rap song. So my question I want to ask you, and we'll send out the link if you guys want to read the article, is why is this the case? Why is hip hop the number one overall genre, yet top 40 radio still really has yet to embrace it? I have some thoughts on why that is, but I wanted to get your opinions on why you think this is the case.
Yeah, and I told you this. I thought this was an awesome find. I did not see this article at a Rolling Stone. When you sent it to me, I'm like, this is awesome. This is a great conversation to have. And I have a couple of reasons I think. So in talking about how the white rappers, specifically G-Eazy and MGK, had success where some other rappers didn't, to me, I think it's cut and dry with them. You have G-Eazy. The first G-Eazy song I ever heard on the radio was the song with Britney Spears. The first MGK song I ever heard on the radio was a song with Camila Cabello. So I think you have, I'm dead serious. So I think you have where these rappers have managed, not because they're white, but they've managed to cross over with a pop star and kind of put these songs together that are rap, really good pop hook, or a pop song with a rap verse. And doing that makes them way more pop friendly, way more catchy to the people who listen to Top 40 radio. I think when you think back years ago, when I think back when I, maybe started listening to more hip hop or was younger and whatever, you had Ja Rule and Ashanti, you had Ja Rule and J Lo, you had Nelly and Ashanti, and that was kind of the style of a lot of hip hop. Not all of it. You had Wu-Tang Clan, but that was the style of a lot of hip hop music that was played on Top 40 radio at that time. And I think a lot of the bigger rappers today, it's not that style of hip hop. And not that there's anything wrong with that, obviously. And obviously, there's probably far more specifically hip hop stations out today than there was 15 years ago. So is the concern that you're no longer playing hip hop on Top 40 radio, or hip hop has its own niche where there's more hip hop stations that will play just hip hop music?
Right.
So Top 40 radio really is no longer trying to cross over and cover all of those bases. They're sticking to the Katy Perrys and the Taylor Swift because that's what those people want to listen to, where hip hop stations are sticking to the other stuff. I think the other thing you have to think about in this article, it was talking about, are these hip hop promoters doing enough to get on Top 40 radio? And
Right.
the knock was on that. And somebody came back kind of against that idea, talking about Future specifically. And they said, no, they tried really hard to get Mask Off on Top 40 radio. Now, listen to me. If you think a song that starts Percocets and Molly,
Right.
and Molly is a good fit for Top 40 radio, you're just out of touch. So I think it's also a matter of talking about the content of what these songs are, where, again, back in the day, you could edit a hip hop song for, maybe language, but the content was still a little bit relatable, where people listening to Top 40 don't relate to Percocets and Molly most of the time. So I think it's kind of a matter of content versus language as well. You can only edit a song so much. That's going to make that. And I think when you think about this, we talked about B96, 103.5, which is Kiss FM in Chicago. There's Kiss FM all over the country. I mean, heck, in LA, it's Ryan Seacrest. I mean, do you think young people, young urban hip hop music fans are really listening to Ryan Seacrest's show on Kiss FM?
No, not at all.
Probably 30 to 40-year-old women dropping their kids off at school are listening to Ryan Seacrest and Kiss FM. So they might want to hear T.I., but they probably don't want to hear Future.
So I think
that's just my point.
The battle is, I think, songs like, Bodak Yellow, which I think probably crossed over to pop radio, those types of songs that were just cross all genres and how widely popular they were. Even like Migos, Bad and Bougie, like that was just the number one song everywhere, which obviously you can cater and edit the lyrics, and I think something like that could be played on pop radio. Obviously there have been like a countless number of Drake songs as well. The funny stat to know, where they said the only real big song in terms of Kendrick's had on, let's say, a spinoff or a pop radio would be when he's a featured artist, such as on a Taylor Swift song, as opposed to when he's like the main feature artist as well, when it's one of his songs. So, and obviously he's had countless top 5, top 3 overall Billboard hits. So it just goes to show how radio itself doesn't have the same impact. That's a takeaway that I get when all these songs can be top 3 to 5, number 1 on Billboard, without getting the same top 40 pop radio support. I think it just goes to show, and the point that I was going to make is how this all other aspects, whether streaming, podcasting, all these different ways where you can consume music, you can consume opinions, to where radio itself may not necessarily have that same impact, and where radio has always played it safe. And I think overall that's its detriment, to where the fact that it may not have expanded to include like the top black hip hop artists in their genre, to where it may be a crossover for some of those guys to listen. So overall, I don't really listen to radio as much as I used to. Some may not, but it's just an interesting stat to note that of all the artists that were number 1 on pop radio were of white descent, whether it's Eminem, MGK or Macklemore or anything like that. It actually was very funny to know where clearly they get the backing of the conglomerates behind there much quicker than Amigos or Cardi B. So it's just an interesting, weird thing to know, and just leads me to believe that the music industry is effing crazy.
It is crazy. And one other thing, though, another song that they mentioned there that goes more to my point about being less about the fact that they're white, more of the style of song was Wiz Khalifa with the "See You Again." So he made it on pop. That was a popular song on Top 40 radio. But again, the style of the song was that. So I think that is a
Yeah.
matter too, where there wasn't a niche for hip hop radio stations 20 years ago. So it went into one bucket where now maybe we need to stop calling Top 40 radio Top 40 and just call it pop. Just say it's pop radio. I don't expect to hear Britney Spears on a hip hop station. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So and that's fair. And I think that's the other thing that and I think it's great that there's far more hip hop stations, because if you want to listen to hip hop music, you want to be able to turn it on and not have it mixed with Katy Perry. You don't want to have to listen to this mixed with Fifth Harmony, things like that.
Fifth Harmony.
Well, I'm thinking about that because they have a song with Ty Dolla $ign. Like
Right.
those rappers who are getting on Top 40 radio. So it might not be their song, but again, people on Top 40 radio know who Ty Dolla $ign is on the song with Fifth Harmony. So it's kind of that. It's kind of a marketing thing. It's kind of who are you kind of teaming up with, and yeah, what your content is. But I agree. Your point overall being radio is not the indicator anymore of popularity with music.
Yeah, I only listen to like the Breakfast Club from time to time, and that's more so on their YouTube. I watch previous videos, but I really don't just sit and click on and turn on the radio whether I'm in a car or not. I
I
would
don't
just
either.
play like out of the aux cord or Spotify or something like that. But I think the days of just listening to the radio are long, long gone. I'm actually still surprised that there's a lot of radio stations that still exist.
I kind of am too. Even with the internet, I used to have the satellite radio in my car, and I even got rid of that because now I just listen to my phone. So, but again, with the satellite radio stations, now you have 5, 6, 7 different hip hop channels that don't have to be edited. They don't have to be. So that's different than conventional radio too.
So do people even still listen to the radio? We want to hear from the fans of the show. Make sure you let us know. Like, do you listen to the radio? Is radio even relevant? Is this a pointless topic, or is it so far behind, the genre and where things are right now that radio may even, I won't say it won't exist in the future, but it's severely behind the times. And I think radio needs a huge revamp, or just it may not last with the current climate and what's really going on in the market. So let us know your thoughts, and we'll talk about it more at a later date.
That sounds good to me.
Everything Chicago. Let's get into some Chicago stuff.
Let's get into some Chicago stuff right now. So the first thing that we want to talk about in Everything Chicago is a project that's really been 16 years in the making, I guess, if you will. Recently, an article came out that the old Cook County Hospital building, which has been vacant for 16 years, is going to be remade and re-inhabited, I guess. It's considered a historical building. It's 104 years old.
Wow.
But for the last 16 years, it's been vacant. You can actually go online and look at some pictures, and it's a little bit creepy because nothing's been in there for that long. But they are looking to start construction immediately, which is really exciting because right now the project is underway, headed by the Civic Health Development Group, led by a Chicago-based developer named John T. Murphy. It is going to be done in multiple phases, and they are suspecting that in 2019 and 2020, they will be opening a dual branded 210 room Hyatt House and Hyatt Place. From there, there's going to be additional space, 71,000 square feet for medical offices and another 25,000 square feet for retail space. And when they're done with this project, they don't state when the whole thing will be done, just when the hotel part will be done. But the whole thing they think looks to bring billions. I thought I had the exact figure here of jobs and money. Hold on. Where did it go? Unlock billions of dollars in investments and jobs. This is an awesome opportunity for the city in terms of jobs, investments, and turning this historical building that's been vacant into usable space for retail space, for medical offices and hotels, and that's a pretty good move for the city.
That's pretty dope to hear, and it's just crazy that a building that size has been sitting vacant for 16 years untouched, like nothing going on with it. It's just a really long time.
It is, but at least now they're making moves and bringing good things.
Hey, if it's going to give more opportunity, more job opportunities for people in the city, then I'm all for it. So
Me too.
that is a positive story. So switching gears here quickly, this one is pretty crazy because me being an avid lover of wrestling, WWE, everyone knows me, knows that as well. Talking about this one, pains my heart, but hey, I will spin it into a positive at the end. But we got to talk about this and everything in Chicago because this past weekend in Chicago, there was UFC 225, and Chicago's own CM Punk, former WWE superstar, was fighting in his second match ever in UFC. And let me tell you, he got destroyed. It was bad. It was not good. He actually made it all 3 rounds, but it was never in question. It wasn't even close for him to be winning. He fought Michael Jackson, and the funny part, his name is Michael Jackson, of course. But the crazy part about it was I think he could have got knocked out long before then, but I don't think he even wanted to knock him out. I think he just wanted to toy with him. Dana White, owner of UFC, after the fight, told CM Punk that he should probably retire. He's essentially done in UFC. Dana White even said that he regretted this fight being on the main card. He was very upset with Michael Jackson as well. It seems like both of them didn't really try. So it was an overall bad fight. So does this lead to my question that should CM Punk finally give up his hate for wrestling and go back to the WWE? And what the hell is his next move for CM Punk?
I don't know his next move, and I don't know if he should go back to wrestling, but I do have to tell you something about CM Punk, and you will be very disappointed in me.
Oh
It,
God.
it was I think it was last summer. I don't know who he is. It was last summer, and I was out in the city, and there's like two guys like out, and people were kind of paying them attention. We were like, who is that guy? I mean, they didn't look like anybody I recognized. They didn't look like that crazy or flashy. Come to find out, it was CM Punk. He was
Dang.
a really nice guy. He was out and about acting normal. He kind of had a little like man bun ponytail thing going on. So from that point, I paid a little attention to him because I was like, that guy was a really cool guy. But I don't care if he goes back to wrestling or not. That doesn't make a difference.
I know you
What do
don't
you
care,
think?
but I think he should. I think it's time. I know he had that case with Cole Cabana, and then the defamation case that we talked about previously. He actually won that, so he owes no money to the guy that sued him as well. So he kind of has a clean slate. I mean, he really has no reason not to go back. I know he left WWE on bad terms. I know they're saying that there's options for him to go to other promotions this summer, or to fight overseas in Japan and things like that. No, he should go home to back to where he needs to finish his story. I think his career is not over yet. I think there's a lot more that he can do. I think his storybook chapter of his life in wrestling is not over, and it would just make sense. Every single person that has left WWE on the negative terms, literally every single one of them have gone back. So I think he needs to suck it up, swallow his pride, and go back to WWE and never fight in the MMA again.
Do you think WWE fans would be happy to have him back?
Absolutely. I mean, he's a legend. When he was there, he was one of the top 2 to 3, and even at some points, he might have been the best person on the roster when he was there at different points in
Wow.
time. So, absolutely, they would welcome back with open arms.
And he's pretty young.
I mean, he's 39, which in wrestling
Oh,
days, yeah, that's a little older, but a lot of them obviously, as you know, still wrestle into their 40s. So he can still go another good 3 to 4 to 5 years and make a solid impact. So he definitely needs to go back and finish his story.
I hope he's listening. CM Punk, go on back.
Cole Cabana, his homie, was on the show before, which I don't even know if they're friends anymore after that case. But hey, maybe I'll reach out to Cole and say, here, get this guy back in WWE. We'll see.
Get him back. We'll see. All right. Well, that is a good story, I guess. Moving on to a story that is not so good. We have a report from the Chicago Reporter that's concerning over people who have been arrested within Chicago not getting speedy access to counsel. And something that's happened, it's been more than 2 years since Rahm Emanuel put together a police task force. And they put together the task force because they were acknowledging that there was unlawful things going on and racial biasing in policing in Chicago. And a lot of things have happened since then. However, this report's come out that says that the people being arrested have not been given access to counsel. There's been no progress in this. So what's happening? People are being arrested in Chicago. They're supposed to have a right to a phone call, to get counsel before they're interrogated. These things aren't happening. And in this case, they're saying that the Chicago Police Department is failing to follow the law and its own department directives. They said that individuals are reporting that they're being denied phone calls, they're being denied access to attorneys, and this is not a good thing, and this can't happen in this city. The fact that this is 2 years after the mayor has come in, put together a whole task force to make things better, to see that there's been no progress, things maybe have gotten worse, and now as a whole, the Chicago Police Department is breaking laws. This is pretty concerning. What do you think, Ben?
Well, we know that, obviously our government in Chicago is super corrupt. The police force is super corrupt. And they say that, when someone gets arrested, they're supposed to be able to seek legal counsel within 1 hour. They're saying that people have gone hours upon days of interrogation, not even given options to talk to a lawyer. The article was saying that a lot of times, they were not even given options. And I know they did some tests and, some trial runs. Like, I can't find that part of the article to where they were saying that there were like sample lawyers being brought in to say, hey, we'll represent any and everyone that needs representation. And then the cops were said that they were only allowed to do that for people whose name you knew of ahead of time, which, how the heck are you going to know someone's name ahead of time if they're not in jail yet? So you have absolutely no reason to know who's going to be in jail that you need to report. So it's a crazy story. We're only bringing this to light because we want you all to know about it. It's just a huge problem in the city that needs to be addressed. And obviously, if you make a crime, you got to do the time, do what happens. But you're always have the right to legal counsel, and going days sometimes without even seeing someone or being able to see a judge or even talk to a lawyer. That's not cool. That's wrong. And unfortunately, it's just a problem that we have in the city of Chicago that clearly, the higher ups just really don't seem to care about. And they treat, those that are arrested or those that are in the system as essentially less than normal people. So make sure you check out the article. It is on Chicago Reporter. You can definitely find it. For those that are in the city, what the heck can be done about this? Because this seems to be a problem that just isn't going away. And everyone deserves, right to legal counsel in a timely fashion.
Absolutely.
So unfortunately, that's a little bit of negative Chicago news, but I think it's important that we always bring those things to light because, like I said, the city, we're always trying to make it better, do what we can, and if we report these bad things, maybe somebody one day will do something about it.
Absolutely. I think we have to. We can't ignore the things that we know need to be fixed.
Absolutely. And briefly, let's touch on this. I thought this was a cool story. You can find us on the Chicago Tribune. They said the Chicago Architecture Foundation is going to be opening a new center August 31st. So what that essentially means is on, I think, 111 East Wacker Drive is going to be an office building. Above the decks is going to be a 2-level, 20,000 square foot center that will replace the initial foundation's former home on, I think, on South Michigan Avenue somewhere. So it's going to be a huge skyscraper exhibit. There's going to be a lot of buildings in there, a lot that you can do as well. The biggest takeaway that I get from this is in building this as well, they are seeking architects for O'Hare Airport. Obviously, O'Hare Airport is one of the largest airports in the country. It's been in Chicago a long time, but essentially they're showing its age in comparison to like new terminals right now. So what they're looking to do is they're looking for more architects. So if you are an architect who wants to help in this expansion, they're definitely trying to grow O'Hare. And basically, there's an 8-year plan created to make it the single largest and most expansive terminal revamp in O'Hare history. So this could be a good opportunity for someone who's a great architect and likes to show their skills to help improve O'Hare. It's a great airport, but I think there's going to be things that can be added to it. So I definitely think this is a good start. But what's your thoughts, B?
I think it's a good start and a good opportunity. I think the what they're putting together in the building to look at things, that sounds cool. I'm selfish, and I have to tell you, if you're telling me there's going to be an 8-year expansion done at O'Hare, I can just imagine the disaster that the airport is going to be.
Oh, yeah.
So it's great. There's growing pains. I get it, and I get that it will make it easier. It's like construction on the highway. It will make it easier in the long run, but I'm just dreading what this 8-year revamp is going to do to the disaster that is that airport. But with that said,
you're right on that, because some days being O'Hare, it could be a nightmare. You can have a flight at 7:00 in the morning and still be there 5 hours later.
Oh my goodness, it can be crazy. But again, you have to go through the growing pains. It's one of the busiest airports, international airports in the country. So they have to do these things to make it better, then they will. And you know what? We are so blessed to live in a city like Chicago with O'Hare that gets us flights to so many different cities.
Absolutely.
So many nonstop flights. flights at good rates because it is such an amazing airport. I think sometimes you take for granted the fact that you live here and how easy it is to travel to and from Chicago. So
Absolutely. I
there's
love
that.
it. I
But
think that airport is though, like I said, is a lot of problems. It can get crowded at times. Why I like to book my flights very early if I'm leaving O'Hare, or if coming into O'Hare, the earlier the better. But hey, if it's gonna create opportunity for more jobs, more money for people, I am all for it.
all right. Okay, so let's move on to your favorite topic, soccer.
Oh,
Let's
God.
talk about the World Cup. So you turned me on to some information that we found out that the U.S. has gotten rights to the World Cup in 2026. Is that right?
That is crazy. Not just the United States, but yeah, essentially all of North America.
Oh, so we don't know that it'll be in the United States. It might be in Canada or Mexico. Is that what you're
So
saying?
how it works is they have like the different tournaments like leading up to. There's different host sites it'll have, but where the
Okay.
actual World Cup will be, I'm not 100% sure yet. It'll probably
Okay.
be in the U.S., but it'll definitely be in North America. I actually think it's a great thing for North America and specifically the United States because we suck at soccer, so it gives us what since it's 2026 and it's 2018, that gives us 8 years to figure it out and get it together because U.S. sucks at soccer and we should be much better at that, and the other countries just destroy us. So I think it's a start and a way for us to get our act together.
Well, I think you should say U.S. men because I remember the U.S. women's soccer team being pretty good.
That's true. That's true. But
So,
obviously, we got to have the men being good. When you think of the World Cup, obviously it starts this weekend. We're going to give our predictions here shortly. You definitely need the World Cup U.S. men's team to have a shot. And I remember 4 years ago when they had it, and I remember we took off work to go watch the U.S. games. It was just such a big deal, like all the camaraderie behind it. And now we just don't have that this year. So U.S., they really need to get it
yeah, because
together.
we're not even in it now.
No, we didn't make it. We didn't qualify.
We didn't even qualify. I say we like we're a part of the
So now I
team.
have to like fake root for another team, which I don't really care about.
Well, I'm going to fake Rue. Well, also, it's exciting, and it's not the World Cup, but that'll happen in 2026. And then, actually, 2 years later, in 2028, Los Angeles will be host to the Summer Olympics. So, actually, a couple exciting world sports events coming to North America in the next couple years.
Hopefully someone doesn't die or get bombed, right?
B.Hun.
That was terrible, wasn't it?
That was terrible. And you're almost laughing, and that's not right either.
Oh, I'm
So,
kidding. I'm kidding. Hey,
Uh,
hey, hey, hey.
moving on to our predictions to the World Cup, since we can't pick the United States, I know that the most heavily. Are you going with the most heavily flavored?
Heavily flavored.
Brazil. Are you going with the obvious choice, Brazil, or what?
That would be the easy choice, and most people are going to pick Brazil. I mean, obviously, they're always amazing at soccer. So I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm not going to pick them. I think I'm going to pick Spain. Obviously,
Hmm.
they got, Ronaldo. Yeah, he's a man. He's amazing. I think I'm going to go with
He's
Spain.
a
I think
man.
it would be dope if he got a chance to win it and win a World Cup. So who are you picking?
You pick España. I am picking Germany.
Germany, okay. They're good, though. But yeah, they're like the second best team. So you're not really going
Yes.
out on a limb either.
I'm not going all in, but I am of German descent, so that's
Okay.
why I went with it.
Fair enough. So you are going with Germany. I
Mhm.
am going with Spain. Don't know too much about soccer to talk about it much else than that, but it's good to get our predictions out there, and we'll definitely see what happens. It's good. Like people that actually like soccer, this is like their favorite time of the year.
Well, it is, and like we've said before, I love anybody who loves something. So I get excited for people who are excited about the World Cup, and I know you and I would never miss an opportunity to bet against each other and be competitive and try to win something. So
Absolutely.
if nothing else, I'll just be following Germany and Spain to see what happens.
You ready to do some quick hits or what?
I am ready to do the quick hits. The first one's not going to be super quick, but let's do it.
Oh, this one? Okay, I'll let you lead that one off.
Okay, so we know that XXL Magazine has just released their list of 2018's XXL Freshman of the Year, I guess. Does this list even matter anymore? I don't think we even want to go through who's on it. Does it matter? And then I wanted to kind of highlight, since I don't think it matters and I don't think any of these people are super relevant, I kind of wanted to highlight a couple of the people who have been on the list in the past who have become very relevant.
Yeah, so obviously in regards to the 2018 list, I think they screwed up a lot. First of all, I think the big drama was the 10th pick when they basically got exposed by DJ Academics for essentially when they say the 10th pick is really the fan vote when it really wasn't the fan vote. So Lil Skies, I think is his name, he got the 10th pick, but when he found out he was really a part of the list, but they made him the 10th fan vote, He denied it and decided not to come. He skipped out on it altogether. So there's really only 9 people in the list when there should be 10. So overall, it's already off to a bad start. 2, I think a lot of the artists that they really wanted to be on the list probably turned it down. Like someone like a Cardi B could really be on the list, but she doesn't really need it anymore. The list is really irrelevant to people that have already made it. They really don't necessarily need to be on the list to really get where they want to go. But to not have people, I know some people may not know these names like Lil Baby, Tekashi 6ix9ine, my guy T Grizzly, maybe Young Boy, NBA. There's a lot of guys on there that should have been on the list to really make this list irrelevant. I didn't really recognize half of the names on this list outside of maybe Lil Pump and probably Trippie Redd and a couple other names. So overall, I think this list is absolutely trash. What do you think?
Yeah, and I'm the first one to admit I don't always know the hottest up and coming of these rappers, which is weird. When I look at the list, and when I looked at the list that going back just a couple years ago, you had J. Cole on there, you had Kendrick, you had Meek on there, Wiz Khalifa, Nipsey Hussle, Big Sean. Macklemore was on there. Your boy MGK was on there. These were the names they've had on the list before. And I don't imagine any of these people on this list today hitting the levels that these other guys have. So that's interesting.
Exactly. I really don't see any of them doing it, and we'll see if they make it. And the funny part is year after year, a lot of these guys really end up irrelevant. I would say of the recent list, the guys who actually done a great job being on that list, I kind of like the 2016 list, like guys that are at least still somewhat or irrelevant or doing their thing now, like people like Lil Uzi Vert, Dave East, Lil Yachty's on there, Anderson .Paak, Lil Dicky, 21 Savage, Kodak Black. I would say of the recent list, they actually got it right. A lot of those guys are still relevant. Where the 2017 list, which I don't even have pulled up right now, a couple guys like XXX and Tentacion, he's still relevant, but a lot of those guys are not relevant. So year to year, it's very hit or miss. So I don't think many of the guys on the 2018 list will make it. I think they need to either revamp what they're doing with the whole freshman list or overall just scrap it and do something else.
Yeah, interesting take. So that's that.
This one is a good one, and we actually saw this last night, so I definitely want to get your thoughts on this one. So there's a new show on ABC called The Last Defense. It premiered this week on ABC. It's basically a show essentially about a murder trial or case of a woman who was charged and convicted of killing her 2 kids or 2 boys when she really said that someone else had did it, that essentially she framed herself and really did it. So it's an interesting story. What's your thoughts on the show? Did you watch it, and what's your thoughts on the show?
Of course I watched it. Anyone who follows me on Twitter knows I was trying to make B.Hun watch it. I'm like, you got to watch this show. Basically, it leading up to it had a very Making the Murderer type feel if you watch
Right.
that series on Netflix. And it was very similar to that because it is a true story. It is produced by Viola Davis. So if you're into her, check it out. She did a good job. I was just more upset that I couldn't watch a lot of episodes in a row like you could with Making the
Yep.
Murder because I want to know what happens. But I thought it was good. It was interesting. It's a little sad, obviously the subject matter being children who were killed, but I didn't think it was like so focused on that it was hard to watch because sometimes I struggle with things like that. Like if it's too much, I don't even want to watch it. And it wasn't like that. And it is really interesting. So she is currently in jail. She was put on death row. There's a lot of people who say the evidence points that it wasn't her. Obviously people who believe that it was. So it will be interesting to see how it plays out, to see kind of what we think once all the evidence comes out. But I love stuff like this when it's a true story because it's like, that's the best. So I liked it. Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it. Obviously, what's her name? Darlie Routier is her name.
Yes.
She's pretty hot back from 1997, right? That was like the first impression I had. I was like, damn, she's actually kind of hot. But the story
murderer,
is
that was
crazy.
Beats
Like from
first
first hearing, I was like, there's zero chance, zero way she could have done this. And like, who would actually stab themselves like that and actually be able to live through it? And who can stab themselves and actually still even like call the cops too? So it's a crazy story, and I can see why they made it a TV show. So I'm definitely hooked and intrigued. It's not as good as Making a Murderer, but it's definitely something I'll still watch and follow up with, because now at this point I'm wondering, did she really do it? How the hell could she do that? And if not, how was she still on death row when this was in 1997? It's 2018? That's 20 years ago. So how is she not dead yet if she was on death row? I'm very, very confused.
Dun dun dun. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely watch it. Last Offense on ABC. I saw the ratings. I guess the ratings didn't do as good as expected, which is kind of surprising.
Maybe we'll have to hype it up on Twitter and
There
see
you
if
go.
we can help out. Julian Edelman, your boy from the Patriots, suspended 4 games for PEDs. Seems like this is something we could talk about every week. Is this going to hurt the New England Patriots?
I don't really think so. I think what's more concerning is that Bill Belichick canceled the last 2 days of OT. I think like OTAs or whatever they were doing this week. So very, very surprising there. But overall, this will not affect the Patriots in any way. The first 4 games of their season every single year, they really don't care. And this season on the schedule are the Texans at home, which they could win. The Jaguars on the road, which they probably could lose. Patriots on the road against the Lions, which of course they can beat the Lions, and then at home against the Dolphins. So no matter what, I still see them coming out 3-1, and then they'll have Julian Edelman. So no, I don't think this will affect New England at all.
I don't think so either. I mean, they are, if there's one team that's capable of overcoming, plugging and playing any player they need to, including Tom Brady, it's the Pats. So I don't think, I mean, it's not ideal for them, but I don't think it impacts their season either. But dang, man, another one.
They're going down left and right.
Jeez.
And Julian Edelman's not that big, so what does he need to be taking PEDs for?
Who knows?
Who knows? So this one, I'm actually kind of hype about this one. Will you be going to see A Star Is Born featuring Bradley Cooper and your woman, Lady Gaga?
My girl. I might be, because maybe the result of our bet over the NBA Finals is that we do a little podcast outing to go see this movie.
Okay.
Because I love me some Gaga, and I do love me some Bradley Cooper too. So yeah, really cool. I'm not sure how good the movie will be, but it looks pretty awesome because Bradley Cooper is actually singing in it, which is amazing. Lady Gaga, who obviously is an amazing singer, is also an amazing actress. If you saw her in American Horror Story, and I just love her. Okay, she's like the most down to earth, sweetest, cutest thing, and I would support anything Lady Gaga does. So, with that said, you and I will be going. We could put out some dates so that we can have some listeners join us, and we'll be going to see the movie. So I don't even need to know your answer.
Well, actually, incredibly shockingly, I'm actually kind of hyped to see this. For some reason, like movies related to like singing and the music industry have always intrigued me. Bradley Cooper is a great actor. Seeing Lady Gaga act will be a little bit interesting to see. So, but I saw the preview; it actually looked dope. So I'm actually down to see it. So, like you said, we'll set up something where our friends and family and fans of the show can actually come out and we can make an outing of it. So I'm definitely down to see it.
All right, well, let's do it. Actually, I'm going to get working on that because, and we've done this before. There's the theaters where you can rent out, with the ones that serve food, and you can rent out a smaller room and have like a showing just for you and your friends. So maybe we'll have to talk about doing that.
There you go.
So our listeners, get back to us on social media if it's something you're interested in. So it's not just me and B.Hun going to see the movie. Let us know if you want to come. So, B, did you like the new Kid Cudi Kanye West album, Kids See Ghosts?
Well, I know this is all me because I know you definitely didn't even remotely try to start listening to this.
Correct.
But I will say this is actually pretty good. I mean, it's still short, only 7 songs like the other albums, the Pusha T and Kanye album. But I will say that in 2018, it's crazy to think, but Kanye West actually brought Kid Cudi's career back to life. I liked it. It was more of the old Cudi vibe, with the singing, melodic rap, harmonizing. I thought it was well put together for only 7 songs, and I think it was just enough before it started to go downhill to where I like this Kid Cudi. I'll keep it short here because I know you hate talking about and over talking about Kanye West, but I will say I do like this project. Of the 3 projects released so far, Pusha T is still the best, but I am excited to see what he does with Nas's album coming out on Friday.
That's the only one that's going to be remotely tempting for me, but I still won't listen.
You gotta listen. Come on, you have to listen to Nas.
I don't think I will, but I will admit that one is tempting.
Kanye produces it, you won't listen.
You and I can talk about it later, but I'm just going to say...
You gotta stop. We're gonna have an intervention because you just gotta stop.
I'm just going to say that one is tempting for me. Okay.
Reggie Bush gets a $12.5 million payout from the Rams for his 2015 ACL injury. How the hell did he pull that off?
I don't know. And let me say this. If the NFL does not somehow start writing into these contracts that they are not going to be responsible for their poor... No, I understand some of these fields are in bad condition, and it sucks, and these players shouldn't have to play on it. But it is what it is. You signed up for it. You're playing here. I cannot believe that he received this settlement because of the poor field, and I think it's crazy.
So I guess it went to trial, and the jury judged that, the jury voted for him to get awarded the money. So he almost didn't necessarily get it. I've always been a Reggie Bush fan from his USC days. Obviously, he played for the Detroit Lions for a little bit. I've always thought he's a dope individual, and obviously his career came to a screeching halt in 2015, even though it was kind of rocky and on ice as it is. So obviously he figures he missed 1 or 2 years worth of salary due to this. So hell, good for him. He tried something. He won. He's got $13 million more. I mean, he was already rich as it is. So shouts out Reggie Bush. You won, and kudos to you. And remember, Reggie Bush was one of the first to date Kim Kardashian. So never forget that.
I will never forget that. Yeah, and I'm not mad at Reggie Bush. I just think it's insane that this is possible, that somehow these teams aren't smart enough to have this written into the contracts. And I'm sure this will be something that will be changing in the future.
Let's get into our favorite segment before we get up out of here. We have the clown of the week, and I think, did I go first last week or you did?
I don't know, but you can go first if you'd like.
Let's do it. And this one, I don't think we've ever given this guy the clown of the week on Alternative Fact Chicago in his history and reception. But for what he's been doing over the past 4 or 5 months, he definitely could have been. So for now, and finally, my clown of the week goes to rapper Tekashi 6ix9ine. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
And what did he do this time? Well, first of all, I will say it was pretty ballsy of him. And I actually thought it was pretty dope that he was in Chicago for the past 24 hours, whether he was with security or not, and just stunting all over the city. I thought that was kind of cool. Where I think he's a clown, or where I think he went wrong, was that this past weekend in New York, they have the Summer Jam concert. Ebro from Hot 97, who runs the concert, said that, he can't perform. He's too much of a liability. He talks too much. Obviously, being in MetLife Stadium, there's a lot of insurance issues there. He can't be there. And, of course, he could be there because he has a lot of hot songs, and he is popping in New York right now. But, of course, he said no, he can't be there. So what did Tekashi still do? He tried to show up. He tried to paint his face so you wouldn't see the tattoos. And he showed up with like 50 or so plus people, and he tried to get into the event. And, of course, he was shut down. And, of course, what does he try to do? He tries to press someone on camera as well, and it just all around was a bad look and a bad situation. I think overall, if he would have just taken in stride, okay, I can't be there, let's go a different route, I think it would have been okay. So, for one, you're getting the clown of the week for that. And then two, what else do you decide to do? Of course, he's been beefing with Chief Keef, Lil Reese, all the Chicago rappers. He was in Chicago yesterday. What does he do, which I think is a big corny move? He takes one of Chief Keef's baby mamas back to New York and goes on a shopping spree today and posts it all on social media for everyone to see. Bro, we all know that the easiest trick in the book to get at a guy is to go after their baby mom or their bitter ex-girlfriend, because they're always going to be bitter, and it's going to be an easy target, and it's always an easy thing to do to try to get back at the guy that you have supposed fake or real life beef with. But at the end of the day, I think it's a corny move. I don't think you get any cool points for it, because obviously it's an ex, it's a baby mom for a reason. That person is not with them. And then he was trying to say that, of course he's paying for him, and if he doesn't take care of his baby mama, someone else will. I am sure or positive Chief Keef pays child support, or he would be in jail. So that's also stupid. He doesn't care about that girl. So the fact that you're showing up with her, it just shows that you're a cornball in that regards, and you really don't get any cool points. So Tekashi 6ix9ine, I think you make music that resonates with the people. You're actually a smart person, but you make a lot of bad decisions. And someone on this team really needs to sit him down before something bad happens to him, before something bad happens to DJ Academics. So for now, you do get the clown of the week.
He's a clown.
I know you're not a big fan.
Well, I just think that that's silly. And then what I thought was really silly too is there was a video of him in Englewood, and he's out there supposedly by himself. Not the video where he was with clear security or cops or whoever, but he says, "I'm out here by myself." Okay, it is July. He's wearing like a skull cap and a hoodie in the middle of July so that nobody can see his rainbow bright hair and nobody knows who he is, acting tough. He's ridiculous. And
Zero chance he was in Chicago by himself. You knew that would not happen. He's not that stupid.
And the stuff with the baby mom was just disgusting to me. So, he's a clown. Moving on to my clown of the week. My clown of the week is Dana White and the UFC, who have given Greg Hardy a contract with the UFC. Those who don't know, Greg Hardy is a former all-defensive football player who in July of 2004 was found guilty on 2 counts of domestic violence to his girlfriend. The charges were eventually dismissed, because when he went to appeal, it was to go before a jury, and all of the sudden his accuser could not be found. Sounds a little suspicious to me. So with that said, as if it's not bad enough to say, here's a man, and if you read the reports of what he was accused of, it wasn't just that, and not that this would be okay. He didn't just smack his girlfriend. It was a very violent altercation with his girlfriend. So to take a man who has been convicted of that and then pay him money and give him a contract to fight other people sounds a little crazy to begin with. But on top of that, in 2014, Dana White himself said, the one thing you never bounce back from is putting your hands on a woman. So, Dana White, here we are giving a contract to Greg Hardy, convicted of putting his hands on a woman. For that, my friend, you are the clown of the week.
Yeah, and I'm okay with people trying to make a living for themselves, but it's got to be under the right situation. And I don't know if that really is.
I just don't think it is. That's just me. I think it's crazy. And I think to do it in such a violent way, to say you're not getting a chance to be a baseball player, you're not getting a chance to be whatever, you're getting a chance to be a UFC fighter and knock the crap out of people, is just a little ironic.
Right, so it's almost like you said, sending a bad message.
Yeah, in my opinion. So I think you're a clown.
Another awesome episode. Thank you to the fans for bearing with me. I'll get some rest in the next week, and I promise I'll be back to normal for our 50th episode. Can't wait. We'll be back in the studio. Got a special guest, and it's going to be a great time.
It is. And this weekend we will be at Puerto Rican Fest on Saturday. If you're out there, say what's up.
We'll be in our tank tops, right?
Of course, if it's going to be 90 degrees, we will be in our tank tops.
The tank top might be off. It might be too hot for sure.
For you, maybe. It might be hot.
Absolutely. So once again, shouts out to 24/7 Life Culture for hosting our show on their platform. Also, Wild Dog Radio. You can actually hear this episode Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Once again, please subscribe and leave a review on our iTunes. They're definitely growing. All the feedback has been great. You know, people do love our show. We really do appreciate that. And thanks for sticking with us through the growth. And the growth has been amazing. We got a lot more events coming up, places you can meet us, and we're really just trying to be out there, touch the people, and grow our brand. So before we get out of here, what else you got to say, B?
That's all I have to say. So thank you for listening. Thank you for following us on social media. If you're not with us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, get with us. We will be back next week with Show B&B Your Business. So keep those questions and topics coming, and we can't wait.
Yeah, maybe we'll do something with our guest next week on Show B&B Your Business. We'll have her join as well.
That would be great.
Absolutely. So thank you for making us the #1 podcast in Chicago. Really do appreciate it. We got more content to come. So I'm up out of here. So is B. We got things to do. So this is B.Hun B.Chan, Alternative Fact Chicago, episode 49. We got episode 50 coming up next week. So we will talk to you then. And we are out. Peace.
We're out. Peace.